Welcome everyone to our first ever tips and tricks session. We have Corbett here with me. I'm Nevo. I'm the community manager for LTX Studio, and Corbett will introduce himself in just a second. And this session is one of a series that we're gonna make to show kind of our approach to how to best use LTX Studio, having our experience and playing around with it a lot since we also work for LTX Studio. And at these kind of tips and tricks sessions, we'd like to share a few of our insights. And this first one is going to be all about the basics of LTX Studio. So Corbett is going to go through a step by step how to initiate a project, how to use key features of it. And then by the end of it, you'll all have a sense of how to use LTX Studio in the best way. Uh, I do want to remind everyone that we're mostly active on our Discord. So please join our Discord because we're going to update over there about all of the new events and the next sessions that Corbett is going to have. And also, we're going to have a lot of new exciting news about LTX Studio and new features and stuff that we're going to update over there. So if you're not at our Discord, I'll send here the link to our Discord to join our Discord, and we will be very happy to have you there. This webinar is going to be mostly interactive with a Q&A section. So you can see you have a Q&A tab below, meaning please ask questions through that tab. And if we'll have time, we'll also take questions from people raising hands, but mostly if you want to ask anything, please use the Q&A. And I think we're set. Corbett, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. And I saw we got a few questions. If I'm looking up here, I've got the panel up here with the Q&A, so I can keep an eye on that while we're doing the demo. But yeah, so we got a few. Please keep asking them as we go along, and we'll both answer via typing, and then some of them will take live. For some, we might type an answer so other folks can see it. Some we might answer live so we can demo things. But please keep dropping the things there as we go through the demo. But to introduce myself, my name is Corbett Drummey. I'm the VP of Brand Collaboration at Lightrix. So I focus a lot on business and brand use cases, but I've used it a lot just as a creator and for fun too. And so I can talk both from the perspective of making projects I've done for fun, as well as a lot of the business use cases I've seen for folks that want to create stuff for more commercial purposes. So today will be all about the basics, like a rough overview, and we'll do a good job of trying to cover the full breadth of the platform. But I'll go slow enough to hover and go a little deeper than I would on a traditional demo, just because we assume folks here are really interested in engaging the topic and want a little more out of the software. That being said, for a lot of these features, I could do a very deep dive on each, and in the coming weeks, we will. We'll be doing these regularly, almost every 2 weeks. And so we both want to hear from folks in a survey after this, what you're interested in learning more about, but also in the Q&A. So if it's something that's pretty easy, I might tackle it in the Q&A with a live answer now. But for deeper things, we could honestly spend a whole session on that. We do have some other fun things planned, some really exciting updates for the next one on November 25th. But we will also be adaptive towards the suggestions from the audience too. With that being said, so I'll start jumping into this soon and share my screen. But while I do that, please keep an eye on the questions and let me know what you want to see. So let me just go through here and then share my screen real quick. Cool. And then I'm going to readjust the window so I can still see everyone's questions if they're asking that. Awesome. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is start from the basics. Please let me know if you have difficulty seeing everything. But what we're going to do is start with just an overview of the platform. Um, by the way, I'm going to answer this one live. I saw a question about expressions and characters. So we're going to do a little bit of a zoom in on how you get great expressions and some fun updates there. So if you've been following LTX since its launch, like LTX Studio's launch in March. We didn't even have these features back then. We've released them only within the last couple of weeks. So I'll do a little mini session on how to get really expressive characters. And so I will touch on that later. So thanks for the question on that. And then another one from David, if you want to use your own images for better consistency, boy, are you in for a surprise because we'll touch on that too. So I think both of those, please feel free to ask them again if I don't get to them fast enough. But in the next like 5, 10 minutes, I should touch on both of those topics after I go through like a little bit of a rough overview. Cool. All right, so what you're seeing here is kind of the homepage. When you first get into LTX Studio, you'll see the projects that you have started. You see a few here with other people on it. That's a collaborative project I have with some teammates. But the really thing, the focus point here is these three different ways to initiate a project. Um, for the folks that have been looking at this the longest, you're probably familiar with this. Starting with an idea, you can enter a blurb here, kind of like ChatGPT, and the difference is, it'll get you a full project and not just a single video. That was our initial way of starting projects, but we've added two more in the last few months, which is starting with a script. So you can copy and paste up to 12,000 characters here, or you can upload a text file. And one fun thing to try is go to ChatGPT and ask it for a script and try putting it in here. What you're going to get back, if people are interested, we can do one later in this session. But what you're going to get back is a breakdown as close as possible to the script. Whereas in the other ones, you'll see it will help you write it. So it will take your story and change it to try to help you with characters and settings. But the script setting will be as high fidelity to your actual idea as possible. So if you have a specific thing in mind, I would start here. And that way you will get as close to your vision as possible. If
I
you're
have
just,
to say,
go
jumping
ahead, yeah.
I think this is one of the most powerful initiation we have. Started with a script. It's actually super surprising to see how good of the results are. Once you take a complete synopsis you can make, you can also just use a synopsis or an actual script that you wrote as a screenwriter, as just like having an idea and then ChatGPTing with it or Claude with it and adapting it into a script, an entire script. It's crazy how it breaks it down into scenes that you can later on even review and update and change. And then it breaks it down into a complete storyboard. So all of you out there that are writers or have like an idea for a story that you want to make very specific, and then you want to visualize it very fast, this is a very strong tool.
Yeah. I agree. And what we can do is try that out just so you can see. And a fun thing is to take a script, drop it in ChatGPT. You can take an idea and ask it to turn it into a script. So you don't have to write the script yourself. You can lean on it, but that's a really fun way it's the best way to start if you want high fidelity to your idea. Also, for the question about clothing and fashion brands, Nevo's going to type it in, but I would say one important thing is we have some solution for enterprise companies coming up soon regarding products. So if you're interested, we can talk from like an enterprise perspective, and we'll get into the features and tiers question later as well. But I just want to touch on that since it might be a bit until I get into that topic. We're going to start with the basics first, but I think we'll be able to touch on that stuff towards the end. Cool. So, what I'll do just so we can jump into things and see some more stuff quickly, I'm going to start with a project that's already initiated. But one last thing is you can start from scratch. So if you want to just get really quickly into it, you can start from scratch and build from frame by frame. And that actually is really powerful for people who are storyboarding and just sketching out an idea roughly. So I'll jump into this. Here's a project we created a while back. I'm going to delete this so we can walk through and create a scene from scratch. But this is, if I were to type in a prompt or a script like an alien invasion in Chicago, this is what you'd get. It's, the individual shots housed within a scene. We have multiple scenes, and we first get these keyframes, but for each of them, you can see the motion previews here. So that is both. I have a sound effect attached here. I have the motion preview here, and you'll have to generate the videos to see that. It'll come originally with the statics, but for each one, you can generate. I'll zoom in so you can see it, but you can check out like a motion preview and see if you like it. And so we'll get into how to change and iterate on these, but initially you'll get the statics. You can go through and generate videos for each one and see what you like, and then edit from there. So we'll zoom in on two things here. We'll start with the shot editor and show you how to tweak the previews of the motion if you don't like it or if you want something different. and then we'll go and create a new scene together so you can see how fast that is. But let's just start here. So let's say that I'm in here and I like this shot, but I want to change a few things. So I've got this alien ship, coming in. I've got this sound here, but let's say I want to remove something from here. Some of the most powerful tools I think for this is the generative fill and remove, especially generative remove. So I can go here and I can take something that I want out of there, like this car, and I can go like this and remove the car very quickly. You can see it's gone. I mean, it's really powerful to you can like make in the initial prompt and then tweak the things in it that you don't want. I would say honestly that as a perspective from the user, the generative remove is much better than the generative fill. And so I think that the generative remove works almost like 4 to 5 times. I get what I want. The generative fill of like adding things, it works, a few times, but you'll have to iterate. But fortunately with this, you can iterate really quickly. That's an interesting question, Greg. I mean, we can actually try it. The gen remove for too many fingers. The thing I would say is like with motion, if you're getting, we'll get into this, but with motion, if you're getting motion you don't like with characters, there are some other tools you can use to get like smoother scene motion, which I'll show. And so I wouldn't even worry too much about removing the fingers. I would focus on getting a good initial prompt, like seed image, and then just adjust to like more natural scene motion. The more intense the motion, the more you'll have those artifacts. And I have a few other tips on how to get like a great piece of content you want for an output.
I have to jump in because I have the one answer. Like I thought of two solutions for the fingers kind of thing. One
Mhm.
is that you can remove the entire like all of the fingers all at once, and then you can generatively fill in fingers one by one, or you can literally specify 5 fingers. And another thing you can do, which I really like, is use a canvas that I think that we'll
Yeah.
show later. And then you can kind of sketch out 5 fingers and tell LTX Studio that you want to see a hand. And then the composition is going to look like the composition that you drew in the final result. But I think Corbett will show
Yeah,
canvas
I will.
later.
And then, Greg, to your point, we have some really big improvements coming to the quality of the outputs, which
Oh,
if
yeah.
you join the next webinar, we'll be able to preview that.
Mhm.
Today's about the basics, and then the next one we're going to be really excited to show you a bunch of some deep dives, but also I think in this month in general, we have some big improvements coming from a quality and consistency point of view. But in
Yeah.
all of our work, as a product company focusing on this, one of the biggest themes we're working on is consistency and control. So a lot of things we're releasing are involving just high degree of control, like Nevo said, the canvas as an example. So I made a note here to touch on the canvas as one and to just try to generate a hand so we can talk through the different ways of fixing that. And for music videos, I'll answer that later. I'm making a note to answer the music video one because we've created a really fun one ourselves. And so I'll talk through a few different ways on managing both like lining up music with videos, which is challenging, importing songs. So we'll talk through all of that as well because that's a really fun use case. So let's dive back into the core flow, and then I made a note to come back to quality, fingers, motion, the music video. We'll touch on those, and then from the beginning of the talk, we have a few more we'll get to after as well. So let's just say I showed you in the editor here how I removed those. I canceled the edit, but how I removed those cars. I'll show you a few other things that's really fun. So to start, those were some of the tools here. One other really fun one is the camera angle. And so we'll show you both how to change the motion here as well as when you have character motion, we'll dive into that. But to start, when you have scene motion, that's going to be like the camera's orienting around a scene and it's the most gentle motion possible and it'll have the least artifacts. Natural motion is a mixture of the subject motion of like someone walking as well as scene motion. In extreme motion, I would only use that for things like, a fireball or where you really want that more intense movement. So it's very dynamic. But you can get more specific. So for camera control, you can start with the scene motion to get like the camera angle you want here. So we have the specified start and end frames. A really cool piece of magic we do here is we're looking at really what is the what's in the foreground and what's in the background here. So, for example, if I wanted my scene to start with it's really zoomed in, and then the end scene, it starts in, but it zooms out. Now you have a scene where this is the beginning and it zooms out. So you can really specify like what my camera angle is going to be for that specific shot. So the camera angles there are pretty fun. And then one more thing that's really important to note is we have this thing called keyframe control, which is pretty brand new. And what you can do is specify a motion area and then add something in there. So I could add, a man walking into the scene. I'll do a few examples of this in other shots, but I just am going to go through kind of breadth before we go into depth from some of these features. Once you were to put something in here, like if I were to put a character in this scene, you can describe the motion prompt here. Should probably remove that sound effect so it doesn't stop, so it doesn't keep playing. The scale of the motion is important, and then you can adjust the duration here. And like I said, the sound effects you can add here. One final note on that side of the panel is that when you do have a character, so for example, I might just create one or I could do it here. I'll just make a new person here. So I'll just say, a guy with standing in the street. So if I have something where there's a character in the shot and I want to animate something there, actually, let's do a close up. So I'll do close up. Um, and so maybe I want some motion. Okay, so say facing the camera. Maybe I want some motion on this character. That's where the character control part comes into it. So in the shot editor here, I remember we got a question about the expressiveness. So this is where I'll dive into that. Flip to this part from frame to character, and we have some new features here. So there's character dialogue, and that would enable some lip syncing. A note here is that the dialogue will come from a character in your cast here, which we'll get into. And so you'd want to have the dialogue coming from their voice. So create that character, and you can then set them to say anything you want. If the character is not there, the text will just come from off screen, not from lip syncing. And so that will enable lip sync. Um, but the face capture is where you get the most expressiveness. I think it's actually better. So we'll do a quick example. I know someone was interested in that, so I'll actually do this and show you. So go to face capture and bear with me, but I'll do like some silly expressions just to show you. So and you can drag and drop a file, but I'll just record something with my webcam. Here, I'm gonna record on this one, I guess. So what I'll do is record a motion. Let me adjust this real quick. And I'll just record some expressions. So let me flip to this. I'll just do this one. This one here. Okay. So I'll record an expression here and you can see. So at the risk of looking really dumb, here's some quick expressions. When I record that video and apply it, I can click generate here, and that will generate the video with the expressiveness of my face that I recorded into that character. Remember, you can upload something. So if you have a reference image, it doesn't have to be from your webcam. As long as it's a clear image of someone's facial expressions, you can generate that and map it onto the character. This one will take a little longer. This will take like a minute, maybe 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And so I'll let this run in the background while we explore the rest of the platform. Um, Remember, if you're generating something here, you can go to the storyboard and you can see it's still rendering over here. So you're not going to lose your progress there.
Corbett, if you have any sound there, then maybe try resharing your screen with the sound on.
Oh, I
Uh,
didn't record
sure.
sound for that.
Okay.
Yeah. I just recorded.
But before for the sound effects you had for the shot, people say that
Oh.
they can't hear it. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you couldn't hear the sound effects. That's probably good. They were just getting a little annoying. So I just mentioned that because they were getting it was replaying the same.
Oh,
I'll
that's
try that again.
because none of us heard it, so that
Okay.
went well.
Okay, good.
But
If you're interested in exploring that, let me know because that I'm going to showcase the soundtrack stuff. So if you can't hear that, that's good to know. And I'll change the AV input.
awesome. It's just maybe clicking the share and just
So
tapping the share sound.
okay. Um,
Thank
so
you, John, for telling us.
yeah. And if you can see this, you'll see the expressions, and I said the word "so" at the end, so it'll say something. at the very end, but this is the expressions that I generated. You can see it's very expressive. So, and I could talk during it, so I didn't. But you can talk during it too, and it will overlay that voice onto there. So if you want really expressive dialogue and voice, record yourself. I honestly think that's going to be more expressive than the lip syncing. But the cool thing about the lip syncing is you can generate, any character voice from the cast setting over here, and the lip syncing will come from them. So here we have, I have a voice here, and the voice in the lip syncing will come from whatever you put here. So it'll come from this voice.
The biggest room in the world is room for improvement.
Can you hear that, Nevo?
Yes.
Okay. So the I guess the advantage of lip syncing is that you can choose any character voice, but if you want real expressiveness in your characters, I would use this face motion capture, and I would record both the expressions you want and the voice, so you can control that here with the microphone and the video. Or like I said, you can upload a video, and if you want, you can mute the audio here. So it depends. If you want your voice and the expressiveness to do that, you can upload a video. You can upload a video and mute the audio, so you have a lot of flexibility there. Let me take a look at these questions real quick. There's got a lot coming in. Sorry. Um, yeah, okay, I'll just and some of them we'll just answer live. Like Greg, yeah, the face motion capture is really good. Really love that. And it's I've honestly been super impressed, and what I can say is it's even gonna be better in the next couple of weeks. Like it's already great, and the stuff I'm seeing in like development is even better. So that's pretty great. Carl, read the about the blazing fire. So that is a good example of you might want to use like the intense emotion. Let me show you an example. One cool thing about the shot editor, by the way, is that you can go back through different iterations. So if I try something, it will save my previous iterations. So if you try something, it doesn't work, you can go back to a historic example. I don't think many people know that, and I think it's really helpful because maybe let's just go here. Let's just pick something that's on fire, like um, here we'll do let's do school bus passing by fire. So I actually really like this one. But if you want something different, and I just regenerated this, for example, if I generate another video preview, I'm not going to lose the last one. So don't be scared about that. We're going to introduce better ways of managing your shots. But even now, today, you can generate something and go back in your history and select an older one. So don't worry about that. I'll show you this once this generates. And this is an example where I would use, it's pretty good with the motion of fire by default, but you can use intense motion. If you have like a volcano exploding, you can change the motion settings to intense, and you'll get even more like, violent movement from the object there. So in the shot editor, now we have this new one. I don't like that as much. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go back to my last one. Nevo, can you hear that?
No.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can
It's
you
just
try
annoying.
hit share and then just check the share sound box?
No, I actually don't want that to. It's just sound effects I put in that are kind of annoying, so I didn't want it to go over. So I'm kind of glad.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but anyway, so we're now back to. I'm gonna take that out. We're now back to this motion that I really liked here, and so I feel free to iterate with that. And then Greg, yeah, it's about the name. So um, yes, so I'm gonna answer that live. We've heard from some folks that like text generation is really important, and text is honestly really difficult with a lot of video models. So that's something in the very near term on our roadmap we're addressing. And actually, we have these webinars joining. These are webinars every 2 weeks, and we're gonna do a bit of a deeper dive on like using these for commercial purposes where you might need text in some of the few next ones. So keep an eye out for the next webinars in the next like 1 or 2 webinars, and we'll be going deep on that with some new releases to improve the text results, which is going to be really fun. The text and character consistency are going to get even better. Let's see. Face tracking use live portrait. I'm not sure exactly what you mean for does face tracking use live portrait, because yeah, do you want to just its model? Oh, I'm not sure. Sorry. If you're talking about the model live portrait, I'm not sure. We can look into that for you. Okay, so going back to this, what I'll do now is I'm going to switch into I'm going to switch into a new scene, and then we'll get to some of the other things that were requested earlier.
Or
Yep.
maybe can you for a second go duplicate the LTX Studio window and just start a project from scratch and show we had a question from Fabiano about how you can change the different ratios.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I think that's fairly easy. Just start from scratch a new
Okay.
project, I
Yeah.
think, and it will be
Yeah,
the
there's a few ways here. So for example, if I start from scratch, here's the aspect ratio. So you can change it in the beginning when you're launching a project. And so yeah, I think the easiest way would be to do that in the beginning. We offer these three different aspect ratios for mobile, traditional desktop, or square, like 1 by 1. Um,
So any initiation asks you what ratio you want. So
mhm.
anytime you initiate a project, that's what it does. We currently don't have 4 by 5 videos. We only have 9 by 16 and 1 by 1.
And currently you also can't if once you've created a story, that a setting isn't available to change it once you've already generated it. And so it's really in the initiation phase.
Cool.
Let me just
Sorry for interrupting. You can go
No,
on.
you're good. Yeah, it's we want to answer your questions. We don't want this just to be a one-way thing. So please keep the questions coming and we'll do our best to stay on top of them. So yeah, the Adrian, about the libraries, we are looking into over time integrating with even more, but we can get information on the libraries. From what I understand, it's just like an open source one, but we can check on that. So I'll leave that question open so we can look into it. Cool. Moving to the a new scene so we can touch on some of the earlier requested things. This is honestly one of the most powerful things is if you want to prototype stuff quickly, let's say that here's my alien invasion project, but I want a new scene where it's, an alien ship coming in over the desert and it's a totally different setting than the city here. So I can change that here. I can say we've got a desert, it's bright, sunny, and we have, a tent in the desert here. We have a lizard on a rock. So I want to get a different tent. So you can really iterate very fast with the keyframes here. So here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe I want, a red lizard and I want, a guy looking at the sky through a telescope. So we have our initial like setup scene here, and it's really quick with generating the initial previews. And if you're not liking what you want, just keep regenerating the seed image here, and that way you can cycle through the iterations to get what you're looking for. If you're really struggling to get the right prompt, try a mixture of changing the text here. For example, maybe I say like with a telescope. And so you might want to be iterating on the text as well as the just flipping through the seed images until you're getting the vision of what you want. Remember that when you're changing these things, there's really three main groups here. You have the text to edit things, like we have, a purple lizard here. So you have the text as one thing. You have the generative fill and generative remove things as another. So remember I talked about a character entering the scene. Let's say, okay, here I want a keyframe where we have a character that enters here. So I'm going to put, um, you know, um, I'll just type something quickly, like a character. So we'll add a person here. And so you can add an end frame where there's a character. So you can have like a character walking in, you can have an object appearing, and then you can describe the motion that you want here. So you can keep regenerating till you're getting what you want. Like I said, I think the generative remove is awesome. The generative fill, I find myself iterating a few times before I get the result that I want. So keep trying that. And it's pretty quick. You might need to describe like what they're wearing. You might need to create a character. And honestly, if you're struggling, that can be a really good thing to do is like if you're not getting the results you want, describe it more closely. Like, okay, this is maybe more appropriate attire. And the transition, the motion prompt would be like a man walks slowly into view. So I can also have the motion prompt there. That way, when I apply this and generate the result, remember the video previews that I'll generate will be very fast, like an animated GIF. That's not the final result. And then when you click one of the options, that will generate the final result. So here we have 4 motion previews, and they'll be played kind of fast speed, so you can just see the direction of people moving, etc. That's not the final. And then once you pick one, it'll regenerate it with better results. So I picked that one, it generates this. And like I said, I'm doing these quickly, but when I'm building a project, sometimes I will use a mixture of text and regeneration 5, 6 times in a row until I'm getting what I want. And so just continue to be picky with the prompting and the seed generation until you're getting there. I'll let this generate and then we'll see it. Let me see. Let me look at some of these questions real quick while we're waiting. Um,
I will ask David, you said it seems like it will regenerate a scene before I finish typing. Do you mean a shot, like a specific shot? If you do mean a specific shot, then yeah, it generates as you type, but it doesn't cost you any any computing time. It only does that when you finish
mhm.
rendering the specific shot, and then when you generate a video out of it. So you can type and it will be okay computing time wise.
Yeah, here's maybe an example. David, I'll show an example there. So let's just say that I'm gonna create a shot here of the tent. So I'll do like a bird's eye view. So let's say I have a tent and it starts generating and I might not have finished typing and it's making that preview. Yeah, that like as Nevo said, that's not gonna, it'll keep doing that. So I could say, I could even change things like this, from above. And so it'll keep generating that motion preview, right? You'll often find like as you're typing it, let's just say black tent, as you're typing, it'll keep updating that live. That's giving you that quick preview, but as Nevo said, it's not going to be the same thing as if you're actually clicking generate video. So that's the main point there. Um, the main problem I've been having is keeping the character's wardrobe consistent from Carl. LTX likes to change the apparel that a character wears from frame to frame. So Carl, we are working on that. And I think join the next webinar because we'll be showing some updates to the character consistency. I'll hop into the casting characters next to show a few tips on generating characters. But from a fundamental basis, we're improving that. And the results I think are like twice as good. So we're hoping to show some results there soon. But let's just look at the cast and characters. Um, so one example here is if you're creating a character, like I'll recreate, this character, for example. I'll delete this and we'll make this character again. So a few things here. We've gotten sometimes we'll have to change like all the pieces to get the character you want. So for example, if I created that character like here, a brave explorer, black hair. Um, um, let's say we have a few things here. So I'm describing this and then the clothing like green and brown clothes, explorer, garb. So you might need to try a few different ways of describing things. And then we'll talk about like generating the character and the consistency you get between scenes. So that's not quite what I was looking for. So then maybe I change and I say desert explorer, So you might have to keep testing these and remember to keep trying everything. So even changing, whether it's the age or the essence. So you might need to change all the above to get the mix. So don't get stuck in on just changing the clothes. Even try changing like things like this. Um, you know, a combination of things. And so keep playing with everything, even the name. So changing all this until you're getting the result you want. Let me also just change the voice too. Um, and you can keep iterating here with the seed generation up here. So if I have my character that I want, I'll keep iterating. You remember you can update the face here, so you can do a face swap. And my main tip would be again to try like updating a mixture of the clothing, the essence, the appearance, all the above. Don't just zero in on one of the line items to really push the character beyond where you're going. So just keep iterating there. So I'll wrap this up and then start pulling her into scenes so we can talk about that. But the last thing I'd say is, okay, if I get what I want here, then I apply it. You will see that like if I tag Maya here, um, outside a tent, um, try a mixture of two things. If you're not getting the results you want, for example, for her clothing, you can try a mixture of using the prompt here, the box that I'm in, as well as the character settings globally. Often, if they're not lined up, you can have some issues. But yeah, I would use a mixture of both like the prompt box as well as the character settings. Like here, I didn't get what I want. And then you can also say like wearing X, Y, and Z in the prompt. And Mystic Marvel, yeah, as confirmation, generating these images, the previews don't count towards processing. Yeah, and then I think we can show that. So for example, you can check your settings here in the manage part. So you can see how many compute seconds you have left and in your settings. And then, uh, the generating the video would definitely count. Up in the wrong project, sorry. Generating the video would definitely count. But then if I just say, you know, that's just a preview, and it's not taking that much compute time at all. So that really what eats it up is if you're exporting the project here or clicking generate video, that's what'll really eat into the time. So I'll let this generate, and then so cool. We got Maya here, and I'll even do like a close up. But then if I go back into the manage, it used 3 seconds. So it's a very quick, like that's not going to really eat into your time. What really eats into your time is the exporting the video. That's what will take like, a lot more compute time there. Let's see.
I will answer Adrian's question about the sound effects. We have a library working in the background, and then when you type the description for the sound that you want to have or the sound effect that you want to use, then we use AI, another model, a textual model, to choose the right kind of sound out of the library. So that's what's operating in the back end of the sound effects and sounds that you use.
Yeah. And one last thing, going to your question, we agree. We're improving everything about character consistency. So honestly, stay with us like 2 weeks, and I think you'll be really excited. So we're working on that on like a deeper level as well. So you're going to be pretty happy.
We don't
Cool.
want to show we don't want to
Yeah.
show you guys and tell you guys about too many things,
Yeah, we
but
got to have
do
content for the other
expect
ones.
do expect like very nice updates coming soon.
Yes. Okay. So a few other things. We talked about generating these new scenes. We talked about some of the character expressiveness. And I do want to say like a few notes. The style transfer stuff is really powerful. So I want to talk about a few things here. For folks that haven't tried this, I'll do a few basics on the scene settings and then go a little deeper there. So one of them is you probably know, of course, you can change the settings. Like I can change this to anime and it'll redo the project. You've probably all played around with these settings. It's very fun. It's a very powerful way of getting these new results really quickly. Like I love to see where it can go. My quick tip with this stuff as a creator is if you're producing something for external use, I would honestly use the non-cinematic things in the sense that you get more leeway from the audience when it's not hyper or trying to be hyper realistic. Because like this is already a really good like, cartoon style. But if you try to go super realistic, the models are improving month over month, but this is as a creator where I would export things in like a non-cinematic style if you're trying to make a short story for illustrative purposes. I'll go back here because I want to show not only can you do, of course, these standard settings, but you can, of course, apply your something external here. So I'll go here and take a reference image. So I have here, like just a reference image with colors and palette. I took this from Barbie. Obviously, as a creator, if you're using it externally, we're just playing around. If I were to use this commercially, I would need something that I own the rights to. And so in a commercial environment, make sure that you're owning the assets that you're uploading. This is just to show you an example. So here we've got like, our lizard and the tent. So it really changed the color setting. Quite amazing. And you can combine these. So you can combine like anime and this color pattern. So I'll pull another one that's even more fun where it's just a random pattern. It's a bit of a harder one to do. So you can see like how good it can get at adapting these patterns. This one is, as I zoom in, you can see it's like a non-obvious pattern of just lots of colors. It's random. If I apply that to the project, we're going to get a really cool interpretation of that. So this is not a very standard ask, but it does a good job like interpreting it as a model and figuring out like what should this city or lizard look like with that. So here you go. Now I have a really, wild looking spaceship. I have the city of Chicago here. I've got my tent. I've got my lizard. And I think the cool thing, what I'd suggest is if you are using a pattern that you've made, or for example, if you need something, honestly, check out like Unsplash for free imagery. And that's licensed, it's imagery that you can use to push things in a new direction that's, has open commercial licenses. And that's an example where you can push your work into a new area. A lot of times AI video can all look alike, and this way you can put a unique stamp on it. Greg, yes, to your point about scene only, this is what I was going to get into. This is new. So for folks that aren't aware, I'll do one more thing, but I'll show you one of my favorite things is now you can do scene style. So I'm going to do a combination here of, let's see, I like the previews. So if you haven't seen that, the previews are here when you do scene specific. And that's really helpful, I think, because in the main settings, it's not visual yet. It's just text. So on the scene specific one here, scene style, if you zoom in, you can see a preview of all of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these. I'll take line art because I want something kind of cartoony. And then I'm going to also apply that with, I'm going to show you what it is by itself, and then I'm going to apply it with a new thing. So here you have line art plus the color pattern. So you can see the difference there. It's really cool where I'm taking a combination of that color palette plus line art. And then I'll do one more thing, which is I'm going to delete the pattern and I'm going to add in a new one, which is just a drawing. And so here's just like a cartoon drawing. And if I apply the line art plus the cartoon drawing, you'll get that mix of the two. So what I would do is, yeah, like Greg, to your point here, I would do is try the combination of them. So one of my favorite combinations recently is like this storyboard format where you take like a simple like pencil and paper drawing plus a line art or something other kind of cartoony, and you can get that classic storyboard look, which we're gonna make even easier to do like on a default basis, but it's really fun for storyboarding. So I know lots of you are probably creatives that want to plan out your work. And sometimes when you get like too detailed, that doesn't leave enough room for creativity. And so if you were sharing something, for example, with a client, like if you're an ad agency or a creator sharing something with a client, you can give them a storyboard where they're not going to read too much into it. They're not going to say like, oh, but I don't want, the like this rock in the scene. This can give you like the level of detail where you're like, okay, use your imagination, but I'm going to have a scene where, this character's out, exiting the tent, etc. So that's one of my favorite tips recently is to, use that combination of scene setting plus like a cartoon type scene setting plus a drawing to get like that classic storyboard vibe.
And something I want to add about for Greg's question about style references. We had a question before I want to just address maybe live about Canvas not having a style reference right now. That is very correct, and it's an update that we'll also have soon. So you'll be able to also have a style reference for the Canvas feature.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of Canvas, let's get into that. So I know that was one of the questions. So let's go to, I'll get out of this setting because I want to show a bit more. I'm going to delete this pattern, remove this, and apply it to there. Okay, cool. So I'm trying to think. Let's say, let's say that I'm making a new scene here. So we're again back in downtown Chicago, and you can click this button here, which is Canvas. So again, you can upload an image. So let's say you're using using Midjourney or something else, or you honestly can take a screenshot of your own product from a presentation. You can drop anything in here. So even if you're making something and you need like a placeholder image in between, you can screenshot something and drop it in here. And Tim, to your question, give a couple of tips, life hacks on reference image while choosing the project style. Um, Honestly, okay, I would say you're probably used to AI products where people are like carefully crafting things. My biggest tip with reference images is try everything because that I think is if I had to pick one thing that this product does almost superhuman. It's the style reference thing. And so the coolest results I've gotten were just going to like Unsplash for royalty-free images, picking some random pattern and throwing it in combination with other stuff. We've noticed how good those combos are, so we're gonna make some of these easier and show tutorials on it. But most other things, I'd give you tips on how to get the right result. But for that in particular, I would say you almost can't get a wrong result. You can, but just there's so many happy accidents with that that I would say that one you can kind of go crazy with. I could just keep doing them all day, honestly.
I can
So
maybe add that a surprising take on the style reference is just going adding like a color palette kind of to it, not like an image, an actual image of something, just like blocks of colors. And then it also takes the blocks of colors and turns it into a style reference, which is amazing. So
mhm.
you can control the amount of colors, like different colors that you ratios that you want to have. Like you want to have it very orangey, you want to have it less pink, then you can like have an image of just blocks of colors, and then it also gives amazing and very surprising kind of style reference to it. So you can also try that out.
Yeah, and then Tim, to your point, let's just say the cartoon about using, anthropomorphic dolls. I'll quickly hop into another project just to just show an example. Like, okay, um, here's an example where, okay, we have a girl where maybe she's imagining that these fishing lures she's using come to life. So I could create a new scene here, and then in the girl's imagination, the fishing lure is now a specific reference. It's a specific style because it's signifying it's her imagination. So in these, it's more like I could let's just do this. Let's change the we have a kind of a 3D model view to these other scenes. Like it's kind of a more normal one. But then if I wanted to signify that now I'm in her imagination, I could change this specific setting into a new one. So I would use probably I would go like this. I would just browse through and maybe I do like a combination of like craft clay first of all to like as a base model get a bit more like cartoony, and then just again browse open image freeze. There's lots of them out there. You could browse like Unsplash for an example drawing and then put it in that direction. And at towards the end, I'll keep going through it, but towards the end, I'll do an example of that just so you can see. We'll do a few in a row. But since we just showed style reference, I'll keep going through the rest so we can touch on some other questions. Okay, cool. So going back to our original project.
We
Um,
were at Canvas.
yes, exactly. So let's just say here I want a canvas, and I would say like, okay, I want, a brick wall here. And so I might do something like this. You can just draw what you want. And you know, I'm not the best, and this is going really quickly, but I can say like, okay, here is a brick wall. And the cool thing is in the preview on the side here, it'll show it as you're scribbling. So I can auto generate here. Let me, sorry, my Zoom thing's in the way. Let me move this. And so for each thing, I can, kind of auto generate what I want. But when we talked about getting a really specific vibe, this is where I've seen the best results for drawing drawing exactly what you want and getting that result out of it. So um, I'll show a few more to put back really back into our scene. So let me remove the scene style here. I'm going to go back to standard, and I'm going to let's see. Um, Let me pick something. Um, let's just put yeah, okay. So I'll put like an alien ship in the sky. So maybe I want an alien ship that's the classic saucer shape. And so I've got this, and I can say in alien ship, but maybe I want you know, uh like something like this in a pyramid. Um, so basically, you can keep drawing while adjusting here. So you just continue to add your tweaks here, and then as you're tweaking it, I can say like, okay, here's the moon with let's see. So basically, you can keep drawing in concert with this, and then what you can do is use this to, if you need to move something out, you can then take this and you can erase things you want. So this gives you a level of control over it. And remember to play both with the text as well as the prompt here, and that way you can get closer to your vision. Again, I think it takes a mixture of, I've done some really quick ones here, but it takes a mixture of some patience with the drawing plus the text to really get that. And remember, you can do the scribble strength high or low, and that way you can get like a really intense result, really adhering to, like, you can see when I make it strong, it adheres to the bad like qualities of my crooked pyramid, or you can just have it just lightly reference it as an example. So you give it more or less creative freedom. So I'm gonna leave there.
I want to stress out how huge of a tool this is. I have to say, Corbett, can I steal your shares?
Yeah,
Your
yeah, you share instead. I'm gonna pull up the Unsplash images so I can do the style referencing after.
Awesome. So looking at that, that was our Discord, by the way. If you haven't joined, I will send a link in a second. So this is like such a powerful tool for everyone that has an idea of something specific they want to create, but either the prompt doesn't let you, we all know how AI can be, or you're just not reaching like the specific image that you want to have. So writing down here, like I have such a specific shot that I want to create. The POV, the point of view is looking down at feet standing on the edge of a cliff with waterfalls. This is actually an example I got from our friend and creator Sebastian Basti, who's also going to do a masterclass about a project that he has, and he'll probably show this example as well, but he'll show a lot of things that he's created for an amazing project, and that's going to be next week. We'll publish the event on our Discord again. But just look at how my prompt here is just what I wrote. And now if I start drawing, and I don't have to be a very good painter, like you see the feet are very crooked, the fingers, we had a question about the number of fingers we want to have. So I'm drawing like the right amount of fingers, but probably if I'd put in a bit more effort, it will probably have like a nicer composition to the feet you see here.
You
But
can
look,
adjust the scribble strength
oh,
too, and the less you have as a strength, the more it'll go towards. Like if you put the strength strong, it'll go towards the curves of your drawing. So you
right.
can do that as well.
And also like this is like an impossible shot to prompt. Like, look, now I wanna the waterfall to come from this side. So I juiced something he didn't really understand. Maybe I can put in a bit more effort about like the stream that I'm trying to generate. It's still not very like he didn't understand, but if you continue and delete and redraw and resketch things, this is such a powerful tool for anyone who's not a great sketcher or a painter but has an amazing idea. Then I just wanted to show this example as well. That's
I
it.
love that. I love that. And yeah, it's good to tag team these. Here, I can share mine again and go into the question we had about let's see, I'll share this one. So, okay, I just pulled up like Unsplash and I pulled up an example monster here. Um, and example monsters here. And I just wanted to show when we go into we had that question, let me pull this up from Mystic Marvel around or no, it was, I forget, let's see, it was around, oh, Tim, the stop motion. So, yeah, like, again, if I have I've encountered this with a lot of creators and brands, et cetera, where if I have a certain style here, and I want to get into that one where I mentioned, okay, it's a new style, and I want to signify that this is like an imagination scene. So I have this one style. I did like 3D craft. I did craft clay here. So I can drop in an image. And so I'll drop in something like one of those monsters. 1 second. Oh, I take a screenshot of it first. Let me take a screenshot of this one. And then I'll do both just so you can see. So I did that one and then I'll do this one. Oops, let me go like this. So I did both those examples. So I'll drop this in there and then I will show you first like this. Although I have a small artifact, I have a text box on that, so it'll make it a little weird. When I took a screenshot, there was some text in it. But just to make it quick, I'll do this. That way, take an initial style, and remember, you can adjust the strength of it too. So play around with that a lot. But this way, I just wanted, a really unique, kind of craft clay style. And that way you can go per scene and really get what you're looking for. Obviously, this might not be what you want, but that's the prompt I gave it, is that like kind of monster. And then, it depends like what you're going for, but use that, just hunt down the right reference image, and that will push it pretty close if you have the strength up high. And then if you don't want it, if you just want it to be a little bit of a nudge, turn that strength down low, and I'll show you what that looks like here. But you can see like it changed the style a lot. Like look at our fish from where it was before. And then I can also, like I said, turn it down. Remember, this was the prompt right here. And so I can also turn it down lower and get it there. And then I'll try the watercolor just so you can see two really broadly different styles. So here, much lower, it's more craft clay and less reference image, but it still has like the coloring. And so you can see, play around with the strength a lot. You'll get very different results, and then use it in combination with the other styles that are built into it. And I'll do one more. So once this loads, um, so see, now look at the fish now. So you can really use this to get what you're looking for. I would say stylistically, definitely play around a ton with that. And I'll do this last one here. So I'm going to delete that, upload this much different prompt. Okay, so we've got a watercolor. But I'm applying this. Oh, I forgot the intensity is not very strong. I'll bump that up next. So just so you can see how different results you can get. And these are two random images I've never tried before. But here it's just gonna be the coloring, and then when I bump up the intensity, that'll take the lead. But right now it's taking the back seat. So now we've changed the coloring to it. The fish will have different coloring, but it's not going to change like the shape in the underlying style. We'll let this finish, and then we'll do one more. And Greg, I'm really glad you love it. These are fun for us. So look, you can see different style, but now let's just bump it up a little bit more. And then the watercolor will take the front seat now, after this. Cool. So the last one I'll do for this one, then we'll move on to a few more. So here you go. See, obviously, look, a lot more watercolor. So again, I've used Unsplash a lot, and I've never really found bad results. But remember to use it in concert with the default styles and the style intensity. And if you have the intensity like 80%, it's going to take the strong lead. And then if you have it less, it's going to take the back seat and just inform things like the styles. But here we've got a watercolor vibe. So obviously, when you go from this to this, we now are in the land of imagination, but maybe you don't want it that strong. Maybe you want it more subtle. Cool. All right. So going back into here, my playground for LTX Studio is all over the place because I'm doing this stuff all the time. So none of the stories make sense anymore, but it's still fun. I want to show a few other things. I know we're getting close to time, but it's been really fun showing the basics, and we've got plenty of programming for the next one. But I want to show a few more basics that are really helpful. Okay, so an important part here is what you can do with this. So one of the things I spend the most time on when I'm creating things is the animatic, because it's like, the struggle. If you're exporting something for real earnest usage externally, you want like the soundtrack, the timing, everything to line up. And to really save yourself lots of compute time and to save yourself lots of headache, do the preview first. You can click generate all, but if you're more conscious of the compute time, just go through and check it individually, and like instead of just doing it all at once, because you're going to probably make an error there. So that's faster, but it's going to be more costly from the compute time. Again, I think the paid tiers are amazing because you'll probably never run out and you don't have to worry about that stuff. But if you're on the free trial and you are playing around, just go back to them and generate them individually. But to save time, you can click generate all. And this is where it's going to map up the narration with the timing. There's a few cool features here. Like we've done some to make it easier for you. So for example, if I have narration in a scene, what it will do is once there's like if there's a dialogue that's too long for the scene, it'll kind of give you a warning, which is helpful. And so with that narration, it'll let you know if the scene is gonna not have enough video for the dialogue, so that's helpful. But use the preview to line up your music, your narration, your dialogue, everything. And remember, if you have dialogue, you can't have narration currently. One will overwrite the other. Once you get this, then you can export it. But a few other helpful notes. You can export the working files. It comes as like XML, movie files and like an MP3 for the sounds and that. But if you, I think we got this question early. I'm finally answering it after a very long wind up. But if you're making a music video, if you want to line up the waveforms, you can upload a track here, first of all. You could use the combination of preview and then editing the length of the clip here to get the lineup of what you want with like the transitions and the waveform. However, if it's a music video and you want to be really precise there, honestly, what I do, export the working files because then you'll get the movie files, the MP3, and the XML files, so you can be a lot more precise with the waveform and transitions. So I think for anything else, it's totally cool just to use the this change the length of the clip here. But when you want to be really precise with that transition, you probably want to export it so you can line up that file correctly. Cool. And then last thing, try sharing the project with people. It's really cool. It's really fun. You can copy the project link. You can copy people as a viewer, editor, and it's great to collaborate on the stuff together. And oftentimes, what I found is you don't even need to export the final video. Like if I'm creating something for a client and I want them to see my idea, this is enough. Like you don't need to export it. I think that this will communicate your creative concept. And then the best part is they can also collaborate with you on it. I honestly don't even export the videos often. I just send this as my like storyboard. So try that for sure. Cool. Did we get all? Is there any more questions we should touch on? Let me look. Um,
I think we're pretty much okay.
yeah.
I wanted to tell everyone that next week on it's Tuesday, we'll have Basti's masterclass, who
He's
has
much better than me at generating art.
I mentioned it before. He's just like a super talented creator that we worked with, and he's made a short story with LTX Studio completely. And he's just gonna break down his project into how to do what features he used and everything. So that's one thing we have soon. Another thing is that we have in 12 days on November 19th a community meetup in New York. So if you're in the area, please come by. We also have the invite on our Discord, and I sent here on the chat our link to Discord, so you can find everything over there. And finally, these sessions with Corbett here are going to be a regular thing. So any topic that you want to have for these or any feedback that you have, please, when you leave this webinar, there's going to be like a pop-up for a survey. And once you answer it, we get smarter about what you guys need and how we can give better content for you and help you be masters in LTX Studio. And that would help us out. Would help us a lot.
Mhm.
And I guess that's it from my side. Corbett, what about you?
Well, yeah, I was just saying we're getting some comments in the chat, and no, I'm really glad folks have liked it. I tried to answer a few while Nevo was talking, and yeah, what I was gonna say is we wanted to cover the basics here. As Nevo said, we want to jump into a deep dive on anything specific you want. I really think that the next one with Basti will be interesting because he'll work backwards from the perspective of a creator who's already made something and then show you how he made it. So that's different than my approach of just glancing through all the features. That one is funny because if you've tried to make a project that you had a vision for, you realize that you can get 80% there pretty quickly, and the final bit takes a lot of effort. So if you want to talk through like the final bit, check that one out with Basti. And then the meetup in New York on the 19th will be great with a community meetup there. And I am very excited for the next one that we'll be doing. We have them almost every 2 weeks, but in the next few ones, we have some fundamental, like underlying improvements that we are excited to share. And so some of the comments we got around like quality, character consistency, text generation. Oh boy, you're gonna love that. So check in for that one too. So I'm really glad people were liking this one. And then yeah, Adrian, we'll put the Discord link up there. Oh, Nevo just did it. Cool.
I think I
Um,
sent it on the chat, but I'll also copy it to your question. That's it. You have it.
yeah, cool. Well,
Okay.
we'll see you
We'll
online
upload
or in New
this
York.
recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so if you want to go through this again, we'll upload it to our Discord as well. And hope to see you. Yeah.
See you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for coming.